I truly believe there are 5 tests every candle maker should make: a performance and aesthetics test, a power burn test, a situational burn test, a friends and families test, and the most important, the standard candle safety test. We're gonna go through my complete process of a standard candle safety test and discover why those elements are so important. We're gonna do that right now. Let's go. Hi, my name is Jay Catalano. Did you know that approximately 10,000 fires are caused by candles each year? And those fires tend to peak in late December. Whoa. My standard candle safety test that I'm going to outline for you today is my own test, but largely based off of the American Society for Testing Materials, aka the ASTM Standard Burn Test, with a few upgrades and personalizations. This test isn't sponsored or affiliated with the ASTM in any way, shape, or form. For your information, the ASTM Standard Test is issued under the fixed designation F2417-17, and links to their test will be included in the description in case you want to purchase the test for yourself. Surprisingly, or maybe not, all candle safety tests are voluntary at this time. They are not mandatory. Let that sink in for a sec. However, if you choose not to do a standard candle safety test based off of the ASTM standard test, and one of your candles fail and causes a fire that causes property damage or an injury, the law will use those standards as though they were law. Para que sepas. Step 1. Place each candle you are testing in a metal tray 1 foot apart and prepare your test area in a draft-free room with a temperature between 68 and 78 degrees. Why? Spacing your candles apart helps to ensure each candle burns independently from the other. You do not want one candle to influence the results of the other. You also want to make sure that any candle that fails or breaks is safely contained. In regards to room temperature, the average room temperature for a home, according to airserve.com, is between 68 and 78 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the season. And with that said, the hotter it gets in a room, the more likely the candle wax will start to change. If it gets too hot, the wax will eventually start to sweat or melt, changing the outcome of your safety test. Lastly, flame disturbances will cause sooting, which obviously isn't a desirable outcome for a candle, but we'll talk about that later. Step 2, trim your candle wick to 1/4 of an inch length every time during the standard burn test. Why 1/4 of an inch? Because according to Martin Malahan, one of the contributors of the ASTM standard test, as well as a fellow YouTuber, I'll link his awesome info in the description. Trimming the wick to 1/4 of an inch allows the flame to have a clearer, brighter, and cleaner burn. Also, trimming wicks on a regular basis helps reduce the amount of residue or carbon formations candles produce while burning. Step 3, light and observe the candle. Once you light your candle or candles, check the flame of that candle at the 5-minute mark and record your findings. In addition, you're going to record your findings every hour on the hour for 4 hours before extinguishing it. What will we be recording during the 4-hour period? Number 1, record the maximum flame height from the bottom of the flame to the top of the flame tip. That number, according to the ASTM, should be less than 3 inches. In my opinion, it should be no more than 2 inches. A healthy flame is about 1 inch. Anything less than an inch, and you might find your candle flame starts to self-extinguish. If that happens, that would be considered a fail. If your candle fails at any time during the test, extinguish your candle properly and move on to the next candle to test. If a candle flame grows larger than 2 inches, I would consider that a fail. However, know that the ASTM standard says above 3 inches is the fail point, so choose wisely. In my opinion, anything higher just seems out of control. Why? Let's take a look at a 1 inch, 2 inches, and 3 inches on a candle. Would you be comfortable with a 3-inch flame on your candle? I know I wouldn't. Number 2, record the level of sooting emanating from your candle. You want to make sure there is no excessive smoke emanating from your candle. What is sooting and why is it bad? Candle soot is the black smoke that you see going into the air because of an incomplete burning process. According to the National Center for Biotechnology Information, soot, which could enter the body through inhalation, ingestion, or the skin and eyes. Soot causes many diseases in humans, and these diseases include respiratory disease, cardiovascular dysfunction, and cancer. A well-made candle will create virtually no smoke when burning properly. However, if your candle wick becomes too long, isn't the right size, or an air current disturbs the flame's teardrop shape, the unburned carbon particles, or soot, will rise off of the flame as a visible wisp of black smoke. Now, a little soot isn't bad, as every candle will soot if the flame is disturbed. But if you see continuous black smoke, that is a fail. Number 3, record any carbon droppings in your wax. Carbon droppings, which form during the burn cycle, are the dark particles that have fallen from your wick back into the wax. Why is that bad? Carbon droppings can potentially reignite, as candle wax is the fuel. If that happens, it's an immediate fail. Number 4, record the integrity of your candle container. Make sure the container hasn't cracked, isn't broken, or hasn't damaged the surface it's sitting on the entire time of the test. Also, make sure your candle doesn't tip over and spill. If any of those occur during the test, and hopefully the reasons why this is bad are self-explanatory, it's an immediate fail. Number 5, lastly, record the time it takes for the afterglow of your wick to stop glowing. The afterglow is the red ember that you see immediately after extinguishing your candle. If the red glow hasn't extinguished in 10 seconds, it's a fail. Why? Most people blow out a candle and walk away. If a wick hasn't completely turned off and there is still an afterglow after extinguishing your candle, you might find that the candle reignites without you knowing it. The last thing anyone wants is a candle to reignite when nobody's looking. Step 4, check the size of the mushroom on your wick. What is the mushroom on the wick? The mushroom is the carbon ball or mushroom shape that you sometimes see during the candle burn. You also see it after you have extinguished your candle. The mushroom is the result of carbon buildup, where the flame consumes more wax than it can burn. If it reaches greater than 5 millimeters or a little over 1/4 of an inch, it's way too big and it's a fail. Why? If the mushroom-shaped carbon ball gets too big, it could potentially get too heavy for the wick, fall off, and land in your wax. If that happens, it could potentially reignite, as discussed earlier. Step 5. Check the surface temperature of your candle jar. Now, ironically, I didn't read any of this in the ASTM standard F2417-17, but the candle community throws different surface temperatures allowable out into the world, confusing a lot of newbie candle makers. I've seen people claim 150 degrees is acceptable, 160 degrees is acceptable, and even 175 degrees is acceptable for the surface temperature of your candle jar. All of those are incorrect, and let me explain why. According to Martin Malahan, who has tested over 400,000 candles in his career, if at any time he found that the temperature of the surface of a vessel reached higher than 140 degrees, it was an immediate fail. But why 140 degrees? Well, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, most adults will suffer third-degree burns if exposed to 140 degrees of water for 6 seconds. 6 seconds is just enough time to realize that the object you touched is too hot to handle, and most likely you can put that object down safely. In fact, I ran an experiment of my own to test how hot 140 degrees really is. I carefully placed my hand in a pot of 140 degree water. I was able to tolerate it for about 3 seconds, and then I had to remove it quickly. Trust me, it's hot. Now, this should all be monitored every hour on the hour during a 4-hour period of time. Once 4 hours is up, extinguish the candle correctly by either blowing it out, using a snuffer, or the lid it came with. Do not dip the wick into the wax, as that could cause the candle to reignite. And don't use water on a candle flame, as that can cause a huge wax splatter, or worse, an explosion. Yes, an explosion. Then let that candle cool down and repeat these steps again and again in 4-hour increments until the candle either fails or runs out of wax. And take a look at these videos that are popping up now. They're going to help you on your candle making journey. Until next time, thanks for watching. Ciao.